Hey, welcome to Be Find Joy, where we are unapologetically living a joyous life boldly. Today we are going to be talking about fixed and variable expenses. If you do not know what that is, don't worry. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to be able to give you some examples of what that looks like. But understanding what your fixed and variable expenses are will help you as you create your bold budget. What is a bold budget? It's a budget that you believe in. It's a budget that is objective. It's a budget that you can leverage, and it's a budget that you can depend on. This video is in a series called the Bold Budget series. If this is your first video in the series that you're watching, there is a playlist that has all the videos so far that goes along with this series. And the goal is that we're going to create a budget that works for you and allows you to live a joyous life unapologetically. So, if you would love to join the Joy Crew, I encourage you to subscribe, hang out with your girl, but we are going to get right into it. This video is about to be lit. This video is about to be hype. This video is about to be fire. All right, so the first part of this video is going to be the information, the education around the specific topic. This week's topic that falls under this video is Show Me the Money. So the video right before this, we talked about how to track your expenses, how to understand and identify what your monthly income is. Definitely check out that video first before you watch this. So pause, stop, watch the other video first, I would say, and then come back to this video because it will make a lot more sense when we go into the application part of the video, because I talk a lot about what we talked about in the video right before this one. Every video builds on to each other to get us toward that end goal of creating a budget that will help you reach your financial goals. So now let's get into the definition. So I'm really big on creating simple definitions to help you understand the components of budgeting. Budgeting does not have to be hard, does not have to be complex. My job and what I really try to do is make budgeting fun and simple. And that goes along with definitions of terms that come up within the budgeting realm. So when people are talking about budgeting, a lot of times you might hear them talking about fixed expenses and variable expenses. What are they exactly? So fixed expenses are basically expenses that are fixed. Pretty easy to understand. Maybe not. What that means is that typically on a weekly or a monthly basis, or even a quarterly basis, you know that there is an expense that is going to hit your account, get pulled from your account, that you will have to pay for a specific thing. So most of the time, examples of fixed expenses would be your rent or mortgage. You know that every month you have to pay your rent or mortgage, or your phone bill, or the cable bill, or your car payment, or your student loans. Those are fixed expenses that every month they happen either on a monthly, a weekly, or a quarterly basis. An example of a quarterly fixed expense for myself is, let's say, trash. So our trash bill only comes out once every quarter. And so once every 3 months, I get to pay the trash bill. It is under the fixed expense because I know it's going to be coming every quarter, and typically it's around the same amount of money. Now, sometimes you might be like, well, Brittany, I have a bill that comes every month, but the amount changes sometimes. So for me, my electric bill, for example, in some parts or times of the year, my electric bill is a little bit lower. In the winter months, it's a lot higher. And so that's still a fixed expense, even though the amount that you are spending might vary. But because it has that, it's coming out on a monthly basis, that is what's considered a fixed expense. The flip side of that is a variable expense. A variable expense are expenses that vary, right? Either it varies in the times that you have to pay it, it varies in the amount that you have to pay. It could still be on a monthly basis. So for me, what I consider a variable expense is my grocery bill. month, I need to be having a set amount, because if you watch my last video when we talked about my expenses, you see how much money I'm spending on eating and food. But my grocery bill is a variable expense, or groceries are a variable expense because it varies how much I'm spending per month on that bill. It's also a variable expense because if I need to, maybe for a certain month, bring down my how much I'm spending on groceries to cover something else, I have the space to do that. And no one's really going to be that upset. I might be a little hungry. I can't get the snacks that I want. But for the most part, I have that wiggle room that if I had to move money around, I can do that. Another variable expense for me personally is gas. Gas is typically variable because the amount changes. Even though you might have to get gas on a weekly basis, the amount typically changes, and that some weeks that you might not have to get gas every week. Maybe it'll stretch out for 2 weeks, or another one could be your own personal expenses, right? So that varies. The amount of money that you are maybe doing for your self-care or going to the movies, that varies. The way that I kind of like to identify which expense is a fixed expense and a variable expense on top of those definitions is pretty simple. It's a fixed expense if I don't pay it, either someone's calling me, I'm getting an email, someone's going to be knocking on my door asking where the money at. No one's going to be doing that about my groceries. No one's going to be doing that about my, let's say, gas or my personal expenses. No one's doing that. But my student loans, if I don't pay that every month, that's a fixed expense. And if I don't pay it, someone's going to be calling me. Someone's going to be sending me an email like, where the money at? If I don't pay my mortgage, I'm going to be getting a phone call to say, I'm expecting this expense. And if you don't pay it, you either going to get a fine, something's going to be shut off. And so those expenses where someone's calling you or something's going to get shut off, those are those fixed expenses. And that's kind of how I compartmentalize it in my mind. The difference between what's a fixed expense and the difference between what is a variable expense. So I just want to give some other examples to help you as you are thinking about your own expenses. And that's why it's really important for you to do the activity and to watch the video that right before this in the series all around tracking your expenses, understanding what you spend your money on, because then you can start to put your expenses into these two categories. And the reason why we want to put them in these two categories is because when we start to create our budget, it gives us a better idea of where our money is going, and then the opportunity to, number one, take away expenses. Number two, we can look at our variable expenses and maybe, shift how much money is going to our variable expenses. Even if it's a fixed expense, maybe we can call the company and say, you know what, is there a way I can get this minimum payment down? So some examples of some fixed expenses, like I said, rent, mortgage, car payments, your insurance, your subscriptions, your childcare tuition, cell phone, internet, student loan payment. So all of those would fall under fixed expenses. Variable expenses would be groceries, gas, eating out, entertainment, personal care, hobbies, clothing. All of those things would fall under the variable expenses because it's a varied amount of money that goes into them, but also it's a varied the occurrence is different. So that's another thing that kind of can separate it. Like the frequency that it happens, if it's happening on that monthly, weekly, bi-weekly basis, typically it's going to fall in that fixed expense. If it's varied, where it's like here 1 week, not the next, here 1 month, not the next, typically it's going to go into the variable expenses. So that's kind of the differences between the two as well. So yes, those are the definitions that I have, want to share with you. That is probably the most simplest way that I can explain it. And as we get deeper into creating our budget, you're going to see why it's important that we identify which expenses are variable and which expenses are fixed. For the application part of this video, we are going to be in the workbook on page 14. So if you don't have the workbook, it's free. It follows along with all of the videos within this series. You can go into the description box and it'll give you the instructions of how to download the PDF. But today we are going to be working on page 14. Let's get started. All right, so here we go with the application part of this video, talking about variable and fixed expenses. So within this section of the video, we're actually going to be using our expense tracker that we did in the last video, the activity before, to identify which expenses are fixed and which expenses are our variable expenses. Before we do that, and I forgot to do it in the last video, let me know if you caught what I forgot to do. I'm going to leave a second, put it in the comments. If you watched the last video, I missed something. What was it? It was my dance break, y'all. We need a dance break. I do these dance breaks just to give us a moment to woosah and to have a little fun. You won't be seeing me do the dance today because I quickly moved on to this view, but let's get it. Let's get it. Get it. No. Let's see. What song can we dance to? The song I want to sing is not really that appropriate on the YouTube, so I'm not going to sing that. But you know what? Let's just give a little jig. Give it a little jig. Everybody. Well, that's not appropriate either. Dang, I'm thinking of all the songs that... Anyway, I hope y'all did a little dance for your dance break. So now let's talk about our expenses. And when we go through our expenses, and we're going to do it like quick fire because there were quite a bit in our expenses. But when we go through them, I also want you to indicate if the expense was a need or a want. And the difference between the need and the want is it's there. You need it to live, to you know, your livelihood. And the want is you want it, but maybe, you know, the thing, it's not a need. You still could get by if you didn't have it. And so we're going to do the first page together, and then I'll go through the other ones because I have like 4 pages of this, so I don't want to take up too much time, but I want to show you where it would fit in for me for the expenses for needs and wants, and then we'll talk about, is it going to be a variable or a fixed expense? And then I'll start to kind of write over here what those variable and fixed expenses are within our budget. So Wawa, clearly for $4.54, it's a fixed expense. It's not a fixed, it's a variable expense. It's a need. It's not a need. It's a want. This one's a want. And it's going to be fixed. Yeah, it's not fixed, y'all. Why do I keep saying that? It's a variable expense. Chipotle. Clearly it's a want. And it's going to be variable. Because for me, this is going to fall, and we'll talk more about categories. This is going to fall under my, like, food, treating myself out to eat. Amazon, I'm sure it's actually, there was some things that I probably needed, but for the most part, okay. So cleaners, this was a need. This needed to happen, but it's going to be a variable expense. Haircut needed to happen. If you would have saw my son's hair, it was, and actually I'm going to put that as a fixed expense because it happens every month. We know exactly how much it's going to cost us. It happens every month. Pizza Hut. This was this, you're like, why did she spend $79 at Pizza Hut? I did the neighborhood Easter egg hunt at our house, and we ordered Pizza Hut. And so this is a want, and this would be variable. Wawa for $2. This is clearly a want. This is variable. Giant, I'm sure this is groceries. So we need it, but it's a variable. Beverages, this was for my husband. This was a want and variable. Amazon, want. This is variable. Gym membership for my husband, it's a need. And this is a fixed. There's already in the account. It comes out every month. I mean, it comes out every month. Bakari, this was a deposit, so I don't need to worry about that. Credit card payment, well, do I need it? No. Do I want it? No. But it is a fixed expense because it's a bill. Gas, it's a need. And that's a fixed expense. BJ's, I'm sure this was like groceries. So I'm going to say need, but it is, oh, and it's variable. Money sent, we don't have to worry about that. Venmo, well, this was a deposit. Adobe, this is a bill, but it's fixed. It comes out every week. And see, this is one where this is the prime example of a need versus want. Have I used Adobe in the past 6 months? First, let's start at 1 month. No. 2 months. No. 3 months. No. So I would do like 3 month. Did you use it? No. 3 months, did you use it? No. 6 months, have you used it? No. So this would be one that's a want, and it's on a membership, but this is actually, yeah, this is fixed. But this is one that I would say could turn into a let's remove the subscription. I haven't used it. If I haven't used something in the past 6 months, then I don't necessarily need it, and I can be using $22 to be going towards my financial goals. Interest, that doesn't matter. Apple, so, you know, this I think is our Apple Music, and I don't necessarily use it hardly ever, but my husband does. So I'm going to put a need here, and it's fixed because this is a bill that comes out every month. Venmo, this was, I think, did I get the money? Or clearly, well, this one doesn't matter because that's like everyone. This is my Canva account, and I do need that because I use Canva like it's nobody's business. This whole budget book was built in Canva. All my thumbnails and everything is built in Canva. So that is a fixed expense. My CVS membership, you know, I would say it's on the verge of being a want instead of a need, but they give me $10 off. You pay $5 a month and you get $10 rewards. So have I used it every month, that $10? Yes. So technically it's fixed because it comes out. So I'm going to put a need here. All right. So out of 25, there's 25 in here. Let's see how many things were fixed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 things were fixed. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 things were variables. All right. Let's just do this page just to show you one more example of like what you should be doing with yours. Parking garage, that was a one-time thing, so that was variable. Gas is fixed. So this is going to be well, this was for work, but it's a want. This is a need. Doctor's appointment was a need, but that only happened that month. I'm not going to go need that. So that's going to be variable. Money sent, no. Amazon, no, this is variable. This is again was a want. Okay, this is here. CVS. Typically when I go to CVS, it's for like need stuff, but we're just gonna put it's a variable. Gas is a fixed. That's a need. Target, I'm sure there was stuff that, I'm sure it's like a mixture of a need and want, but that's variable. Amazon, I'm sure again it's a need and want. That's variable. Wawa, that was a want. Variable. Phone bill, fixed. So that's a need. Party City, that was a variable. That was like a one-time thing. Want. Apple, this is fixed because this was a bill, so this was need. This is need. But this is variable because I don't use the Turnpike all of the time. Wawa is a want. This is a variable. Want for Chipotle. Variable. Dentist was a want. No, dentist was a need. You gotta get your teeth fixed and checked, and this was my cleaning. So that, now, but this one, technically I know I'm gonna get, I think it's 2 cleanings a year. So this is actually fixed because this was the fluoride. And so I'm gonna get that once a year. So this is an example of like a once a need fixed expense because I know I'm gonna do that once a year. Wawa, this was a want probably. Or it might have been gas, but I don't know. We're just going to say it. Car payment is a need. So this is fixed. Wendy's is a want. So this is variable. Gym for my husband is a need. So this is fixed. Dentist payment. This dentist, that was for my son. Whew, goodness. But the amount I think is going, no, that's, yeah, this is fixed. And then parking is, so this is need, and this is want. So this is parking garage is variable. All right, so you see how I went through and just identified if it's a variable expense or a fixed expense. Now I have 3 more to go, but I'm not gonna do that with you because it's just gonna take a lot of time. So I'll go back and do that. But what I will do is use this tracker to identify which expenses are fixed and variable expenses. So for me, let's look here. What was my first fixed expense? So the haircut, hold on, let me bring you out a little bit. All right, so for my fixed expense, haircut monthly, because I know that's happening every month to keep my boy's hair looking somewhat together. Well, it's not somewhat. Actually, I love our barber. So that's a fixed expense. What else was a fixed expense? So our memberships. So this was our, what memberships do I have? I have, this one was gym. Now, I didn't get to it, but I'll show you. This IB membership, this at one point was a need, but now have I used anything in the membership? No. And that is $47. So that's going to change into a want in my, which means I'm going to actually close out my membership, and I can use that $47 to go towards my what's it called? Well, this was fixed. This was a fixed expense. And to show you why it was fixed, I didn't pay it. And I got an email saying, oh, don't forget to pay. So, let me think. Any other, let me just quickly look. Fixed. So that was a membership. My bills. So, credit card. Payments, my student loans. I didn't get there, but I know what it is. My student loans is a fixed expense. Our utilities, so that's the like gas. Well, I don't have gas, but electric, phone. So our car insurance is another fixed expense. Our life insurance. Our streaming service is one. We have YouTube TV. Our, what's it call it? That's, dagnabbit, I can't think it. Our security system. Whoop. Dag, I can't spell. Let's see, anything else? Let's see. Phone bill. Oh, my Invisalign. So my like dental, I'll just put Invisalign. That's the fixed expense that comes out. Let's see what else. Oh, my mailbox, P.O. box, mail, P.O. box. That comes out every month. Netflix. So like, would that be considered I guess, is that like a membership? I'm going to put it under Disney Plus. I don't even, I think that's under one of the Apple things. Netflix. Something that we just got rid of is Hulu. Like my husband and I decided like we don't really use Hulu that much, if at all. So we just got rid of that. What else? Did I say life insurance? I did. Car insurance. Oh, and then, well, I did that already. Oh, I do have my book subscriptions. That's on there. All right, so those are my fixed expenses right now that I've come up with. My variable expenses, and these have been the same. Everything that I'm about to say falls under these categories. I've had these same variable categories for, I can't even tell you how long. And the next video, which I hope y'all hang out with me, is all around creating our budget categories, which will be really fun. So everything else, all the other expenses can fall under one of these. Groceries, gas, personal spending, eating out, what else? And typically it's just like a catch-all for miscellaneous. Everything else, Wawa, eating out. Chipotle, eating out. Amazon, maybe I should have like a, maybe I should just have like an Amazon variable since we use it often. And then like a miscellaneous. So everything else, like the, and if I spelled that wrong, don't judge me. The parking garage, like that would fit under miscellaneous. Pizza Hut. I'm just looking at everything else. Gas, yep. I'm trying to decide if I should put, I think I'm going to also put like medical or health under variable expenses, because I don't envision needing to go, and I hope I don't have to go to the doctor every month, but some months I do and sometimes I don't. There's 4 of us in this household, and out of one of the 4 of us, we're going to somebody's doctor for something. So I think a variable expense that I can start to think about and budget for is that medical and health. And so this, I hope you are able to see how it's pretty easy once you have gone through and calculated all your expenses, typically on a monthly basis, to then go through and identify, is it a fixed expense? Is it a variable expense? Identifying if it's a need or a want, and then putting them into those 2 categories, because like I said, the goal is now we are going to create budget categories. And if an expense doesn't fit into a budget category in a meaningful way that's going to help us get towards our goal, then maybe it's time to rethink that expense. One example that I love to give when I think about expenses is how much money we were spending on cable. We were spending so much money on cable and we were watching like the same 5-6 channels. There's no reason why I should have been spending almost $300 on cable when I was only watching kids shows pretty much. And then I was doing like YouTube. That was like all I was doing. So we switched to YouTube TV and have saved us over like $175 because we realized it wasn't a need for us anymore. We want to be able to watch our shows and for our kids to be able to watch the shows that they want, but we were able to find a cheaper version to then allow us to save so much money that then can go towards our goals. So once I actually saw how much money we were spending every month on cable, identifying that it's not actually a need, it's a want, and creating the switch of it's still going to be a fixed expense because I'm paying for it on a monthly basis, but making the change and a modification to go with a cheaper version that's still giving us everything that we need. Prime example. Or the example I gave you about Hulu, right? We were spending, $13 on Hulu every month, not watching Hulu at all. We took it away. You know which one is about to be taken away? Disney Plus. We spend, $15, $11 every month on Disney Plus, and I can't even tell you the last time we watched anything on Disney Plus. So this pre-work to get us towards the budget is really allowing us to reflect and be clear on the expenses that come out of our account on a monthly basis and making the decisions and the choices to be smart about our money and to be smart about where our money is going. The next video is all going to be around your budget categories. This should be really fun to look and identify what categories we want all of our expenses to fall under. And this is all going to help us to get to creating a bold budget that will allow us to live a joyous life unapologetically. So have a good rest of your day. See ya. Bye-bye.